Yeah, we're doing a little bit of latte action here, and welcome to the Varied Life. I'm Steve, the retired hobby tech guy. Early morning here in Korea, a bitter cold of 32 degrees, and we're going to be talking about some cool stuff. This stuff here, the laser engraving maintenance and baking soda. Who knew? What are the odds of that happening? Let me see, where are we at? That doesn't even have my cool stuff on there. So anyway, what we're going to end up doing is we're going to kind of bounce back and forth here. Let's see, let's grab that and we'll go back to here and we'll paste that so it looks a little bit better, and we'll make this a little bit bigger and we'll move it up. Okay, I think we're good there. Anyway, for those people who are kind of wondering, yeah, I've been into laser engraving for a little while now with a little 5 watt entry level laser engraver that sits on the desk, and it's got like a 3.14 inch by 3.14 inch engraving area, which is small, extremely small. And I didn't think I would enjoy it, but I've done some really cool things with it. I have engraved on metal, like we see here. I mean, got some really cool results. See if we get the yeah, on metal, coated metal. We've done a lot of wood stuff. We've even done, some business contact information stuff with QR codes. And then recently, I just finished up doing some Christmas ornaments or holiday ornaments. Of course, we had to do the Star Wars theme with Mando and Yoda. And yeah, we kind of cranked those out. So that was kind of fun. But then I noticed that doing the engraving, and I've done stuff on glass. I don't have anything on. Yeah, I do have it. Matter of fact, this is one of the glass things that I ended up doing. You can see that we ended up engraving our contact information there on a QR code, which actually works whether it's forwards or whether it's backwards. So, yeah, useless information. QR code can work when it's reversed. So I've been noticing that after doing a lot of engraving that I've noticed my engravings on wood have gotten not as dark as what they used to be when the machine was brand new. So I was kind of like, I wonder, crap, it's an entry level machine. Maybe the laser's going out. And then I sat back as I was drinking my latte, and it dawned on me. I'm a longtime military guy, retired, and I remember doing weekly, monthly, quarterly maintenance on machines and equipment in the military. And I'm like, the PMCS, the primary checks and services that we had to do to maintain that equipment. So I'm thinking, surely there has to be some stuff that we need to do. And I noticed some discoloring around the machine. As a matter of fact, let me show you what I'm talking about here. So you can kind of get an idea. I think we got everything here. So this is the Wainlux K10. It's a little 5 watt laser system. And yeah, it's rinky dink. It's made of plastic and all this stuff. And the interesting thing in here, you see right along there, yeah, we got a bunch of discoloration. And so when the laser actually lasers things, whether it's wood or things that are painted, etching on glass, things like that, because you have to spray like some type of acrylic or paint on it, or some kind of darkening agent. What it'll actually end up doing is burning and vaporizing and all that stuff. And so these particulates get into and obviously on the machine, and it ends up, I was like, maybe, just maybe, that I'm getting these kind of weak engravings because of, because the lens is maybe covered with this stuff. If the outside of the machine has that stuff on it, imagine what's on the inside. And so, yeah, I decided to do a test, and this one here is done at a speed of 5,000 at 50%. And yeah, so that turned out, I mean, it's okay, but it's just extremely light. So what I ended up doing, I said, you know what, I'm going to clean the lens. And so what I took was a couple of Q-tips, some IPA, isopropyl alcohol. I ended up cleaning the lens real good, used a few number of Q-tips, used some IPA, and then cleaned it, dried it, IPA again, dried it, cleaned it, did that 3 times. And then I reprinted the exact same file. And so this is what we ended up with here. So, and the same untreated wood. So it definitely came out a lot better. That is more like what I had seen when I had done. Let me see if I can find a. Pretty much, this was a little bit lighter. Which is where's a good one? So we kind of got some similar results when I first started doing the engravings. Let's see if we can find out. Yeah, 5,000. Yeah, so it pretty much goes back to what the colors and the engraving that I got originally. So this was before we ended up cleaning our lens. Obviously, it got a little bit dirty, 5,000 is 60%. Ended up cleaning the lens with the IPA, and immediately we saw a better result. And again, this is untreated basswood. So yeah, you definitely have to do your maintenance on your machines and to keep up the optimal results. Then what I ended up doing was a test between untreated wood versus treated wood with baking soda and water. And this was kind of interesting because the baking soda and water thing comes in, and I had seen a couple of people who had done some really great engravings on wood with, obviously they ran it through imageart.com and, tweaked the image so that it was really awesome. What I wanted to end up doing is kind of showing you what I found on the baking soda front. And so we'll take a look at this here. So when I asked the question, baking soda and water on wood for laser engraving, and this is the AI overview, and it says that applying a mixture of water and baking soda to the wood and then allowing that to dry, spray it on and then allowing it to dry, it acts as a darkening agent, allowing for deeper and more contrasting engraving by reacting with the laser heat and creating a darker burn mark on the wood, often requiring lower laser power settings to achieve the desired effect. So yeah, that's kind of interesting. So what I ended up doing is, and there's different types of ratios. This comes down to, people said mix 4 tablespoons of baking soda with 500 milliliters of water, put it onto the wood and spray it and let it dry evenly, apply it evenly, and then put it on the wood and let it dry. And then once you've done that, sand down the wood and then do your engraving, and you'll notice the difference. And I was kind of amazed. And I was, they also have one for borax, so I'll probably end up trying to do that. That'll be kind of interesting. So yeah, really, really interesting to see this stuff with the laser engraving. And so when I treated this wood, this is 3mm basswood with the baking soda solution. This is what we came up with. And so you can see it definitely works as a darkening agent. And yeah, that is very interesting. Because again, if we compare this to what it was before with the normal, you can see there is a big difference between those two. So yeah, definitely very, very interesting on how you can get some darker results. Matter of fact, with the darker version with the baking soda, I would definitely have to drop the power down, and I'm going to do a test on that. This one just finished printing out before I started this video and stream, but what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to drop the power down to 50%, be 5,000 to 50% with my 5-watt laser, and we'll see if we can get, a little bit lighter results, but the darkness on this, come on, focus, 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 there we go. I mean, that came out pretty dark compared to the regular one. So, yeah, a little bit of playing around, and of course, you'd have to play around with the ratios of your baking soda and water, and then the application of that on the wood. So, I thought that was really, really interesting. And yeah, just another tip and trick to be able to get some really good results. So, we're going to continue on and do that. And I know some people have been asking, how do you get darker engraving on your wood? And like I said, I'm just new into laser engraving. And so obviously, if you have the same power setting and then you go slower, your laser is going to spend more time on the material. And so you'll get a darker burn. But there comes a time of diminishing returns to where you end up charring and scorching your material versus getting a darker look. And this, bicarbonate of soda, baking soda, ends up that you can get darker results without having to change your power settings and so on and so forth, even to the point of where we see here that we would have to actually reduce the power to get the results that we want. If this will ever focus. There we go. So, yeah, a little bit dark, but very interesting in regards to how that came out. So, if you're looking to get a little bit darker on the woods, baking soda might be the way to go. So, the next test that we're going to end up doing is we'll take this same image, I still have it, and what we'll do is same treatment, exact same treatment. We'll lower the power by, I don't know, maybe instead of 60% at 5,000, we'll do 40%, and we'll see how this turns out and take it from there. So again, you're going to have to do some test grids on your own, which brings to mind, if you do your test grids and you have the wood plain or untreated, you're going to get obviously different kinds of results than if you had treated wood. So keep that in mind if you're going to jump into this stuff. Excuse me. And you want to get a little bit darker results. You're going to have to do a test grid with the treated wood, so that way you can look at this and you can say, well, treated wood, I know that I can do X amount of speed, X amount of power, don't have to use as much power to get, darker results versus, untreated wood. Again, more tools in the toolbox to help you with your laser engraving. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. And the borax thing, I know there's people that talks about the borax versus the baking soda. And funny thing happened, my wife had just bought a bunch of borax. So yeah, there's a lot of people who have tested it and to see the difference as far as engraving. There was a guy here who's talking about who did some stuff, and I don't know. It's all going to come down to you and your results, your machine, your materials, your test grids, your laser focusing, different variables for weather, cold, even the material itself, like the wood. How dry is it? Is it still damp? I've noticed differences as far as engraving. I had some basswood that the sheets were extremely dry, and then towards the bottom of the stack, I ended up having sheets that were really, really damp. And so you have things like in doing cutting on the dry wood, no problem. But then when I started cutting the damper or more, the material that had more moisture in it, it didn't cut through all the way. So I had to reduce my speed even more, keep it at 100% versus, maybe 140 at 100% with the dry material. So again, there's different types of variables that come into play, but this baking soda can be a thing where you can, you can definitely get some good results. and to darken up the engravings by adding this baking soda to your thing. So anyway, yeah, that's what we got going on. So we're going to end up going back to our engraving here and the baking soda treated wood. And what we'll end up doing is we'll drop this to 40% just to see how that goes. And then let's see, that's the fill, that's the image. Well, we need to do that, so we'll drop this down to 40%. And then we'll go this one, and we'll drop this, the power down to 40%, and we'll see how that runs. So, let's see what we can end up doing. Let's go ahead and we'll put this stuff back. And plug all this wonderful stuff back in. Okay, I think we're there. And let's see what we got in my oven. And go ahead and let's take a look at our, where are we? There we are, okay. So let's go to this. This is our laser. And so now, take this and we're already focused on what we need as far as the laser and everything. And now that it has a clean lens, and what we'll end up doing is we'll go back here and we'll end up over here we have the frame. So we'll hit the frame button and we will check out the laser to make sure that it's going on the material. Yep, and that's where we want it. So we're going to go ahead and hit, let's do a quick preview. This is going to take about 17 minutes. And double check our settings. Everything is good. We'll just go ahead and hit start. And we're off to the races. So yeah, that's what we got going on there. Alrighty, so we'll let that run. But yeah, it's kind of interesting to see the different types of effects that the baking soda had on the wood. And basically, I didn't do a real big thing. I just got a couple pinches of baking soda and then like a half cup of water, and then basically just, I didn't have a spray bottle. I just had like a paper towel, dipped it in there once it was diluted, and then just did some wipes in both directions. And boom, there we go. Let it dry overnight, and obviously it works. Who knew? What are the odds? What I'm really looking forward to is getting to the point of, I'm looking at getting another laser engraver, but I'm kind of holding off. There's a few different models that I would like to get. One is the Raleigh Lasermatic, and the MK2, the extended width. So it's his machine ends up really, really nice. Seen some great reviews on it, and people are just like, there's a difference between Raleigh Lasermatics and some other laser companies who try to put out a new machine every year with some minor upgrades, and then, but do they support their older machines? And so it's kind of like the resin printing and the 3D printing world, especially resin printers, where companies will make a product, and then the next year they make another product, next year they make another product, another one, and that's all they do. Same thing with 3D printers. You get companies that just end up really getting to a place of where they just make products. and they don't stick with, they keep those older machines alive. They'll work on them, they'll do maintenance and they'll keep them. But eventually it comes to a place of where, they're more focused on releasing a new machine every single year versus creating high quality machines where maybe you only release a new machine every couple of years or so. See what I mean? It's kind of like, the Raleigh Lasermatic seems really good. And of course, there's X-Tool, there's OhmTech, and some other things like that. But those are the thing. The problem with the X-Tools is, man, they're expensive. They are super expensive. And then another company that I have been privy to was ACMER, ACMER. They ended up having some, let me see if I can pull that up, ACMER. And their P3 laser, which looks really interesting. So let's take a look at that. And matter of fact, let's see if we can, we'll change this here. And we'll go back to this. And then we'll go to here. And they just happen to have a Black Friday sale. Let's go ahead and we'll throw me in over here. Up to 50% off. Interesting. Okay. So this is their laser, their P3 with the infrared and diode enclosed dual laser system. Now this is kind of interesting because supposedly this is the world's first diode and IR dual laser system within one module. They can have different modules that you could buy and put in there, so they have like a 48 watt, 24, things like that. And then they have different packages of where you could end up, buying the laser, the honeycomb, fire suppression, some risers and things like that. But just for the machine itself, $1,600. That's not bad. That is not bad at all. And of course, there's always additional things that you can buy. License, light burn. I wouldn't want that because I already have that. You could save on the materials, but then again, it's kind of nice to have that. But this looks really good because it has the camera system, the whole 9 yards. It's not as high speed, low drag as like X-Tool. But I've seen reviews on this, and it is really, really interesting. So you can engrave on a variety of materials like porous, leather, things like leather, wood, things like that. But then you could also do some harder items in steel and metals and engraving with the IR laser. So yeah, the camera, so you can get your photos and things onto your material. Just can do some pretty good cutting as well. So here it says you do 15 millimeters of wood, 12 millimeters of acrylic, 6 millimeters of MDF, which really for a hobby application, or even if you're doing a side gig, I think that's more than enough. Unless you're doing some really thick signage, then you'd have to obviously buy another module like the 48 watt. But yeah. Look at all the stuff that over 300 materials that you can engrave and cut, which is really interesting. So yeah, you could buy the different modules to plug and play in there, and I think the 2-in-1 would be the one that I would go with, and I'm kind of leaning towards that. Excuse me. But this is the interesting thing here, is the Core XY structure. Now, for those of you who know anything about 3D printing, you have your X and your Y axis, and it's usually you have your print head, and then you have two stepper motors which will move the gantry or the print head along the X and Y axis. And they have done this, so as you see here, we got two stepper motors, a stepper motor there, and then you have the belts, and supposedly this will produce greater speeds, and greater speeds means you can print faster, engrave faster, which time is money if you do that whole thing. So yeah, talking about 48,000 millimeters a minute, which is pretty impressive. And they show the differences between their P2 and their P3. So yeah, you're going to gain some time. The Core XY is just really kind of a smart move. So, and of course they got all their stuff there. They got the camera, positioning. That's kind of cool because usually what you end up doing if you don't have a camera, kind of like the system I got here, you know, with the laser. Let me see if we can bring that up. Which one are we looking at? Well, that there. When we take a look at that, anytime that we have to get that going and take a look at what we're doing, we have to center it onto in Lightburn, and then you have to place your material. And because it's such a small laser engraver, what we end up with is it's kind of hard to get your material in there and kind of hard to center things. And you know, I figured out how to do it, and I drew, actually been able to draw a circle and a square around there so I can put my material and get it pretty much centered in. But with the things like the camera, that is what's really cool, because with that, you can position your things on the material with better precision. At least that seems like it in my opinion. Of course, I got a fan and all that, micro airflow, which I don't have on this thing here. So yeah, this Acme or Acme, however they pronounce it. Remember Acme from, what was it, the Roadrunner and what was it, the Wolf, not the Wolf, Roadrunner and, I can't remember the name, but I remember the Roadrunner. Maybe it wasn't the Fox, it wasn't, I don't know. So yeah, just pretty interesting stuff as far as Acme or Acme. Acme. I'm going to say Acme. So I'm kind of looking at that, and then the other one is the Raleigh Lasermatic MK2 XW, and that's 1,850, so basically $2,000 by the time. But it comes with the rotary system, it comes with the air assist, and of course if it's without the rotary, you know, you're looking at different levels, 10, 20, and 30 watt, which looks, and the reviews on this machine are really, really good. I really like this larger work area, 24 inch by 15.3. It has the different laser configurations, again, cameras, all of that stuff. Comes with a honeycomb grid. It just looks like a really great system. And the rotary chuck that we have there, that it just looks really, really good. And the thing I like about Raleigh Automation is the fact that they listen to their customers, they listen to people that are into laser engraving, and they make improvements based on those things. It's definitely not a company where they make adjustments just because they're trying to push out another machine for the sake of pushing out another machine to make more money. The guy who runs this place, I forget his name right off the top of my head, but the guy who runs this place, he obviously is into laser engraving, and he cares about quality. You can see the quality of the build on this in some videos that I've watched. I've just been really impressed versus some other companies and their build quality. Now, funny story, because it should be noted, and it should be noted, that I've had companies contact me, Chinese companies, nothing wrong with that, small companies, and they said, hey, we want you to do a video for us. And if you do a video review, and it's like, okay, well, and I look over the page, and it's like, and it's like, and then I tell them, you know, well, I'm going to do an honest review. And if I do an honest review, you can send me the machine, you can do all that, that's great. That's kind of cool to be able to do that. But I'm going to tell it how it is. So if it lives up to the advertisements and the claims that you make, I'll let people know. But if it doesn't live up to those things, I'm going to let people know, and I'm going to tell people about how I feel about this machine, the quality, the build, customer support, software side of the house, and so on and so forth. So, and it was interesting. I forget the name of the company. It was some real small company, and basically they came back and they said, "No, you got to give us a good review, and that's it. You can't." And it's like, oh, okay, hold on there, Johnny. You're not going to tell me what I can and can't say. I'm not going to make a blanket, everything's rosy and butterflies review if that's not actually the case. And it's amazing because I've had 4 companies do this, and I tell them I do honest reviews. I tell them about, hey, I'll talk about the pros, I'll talk about the cons, I'll talk about build quality, customer support, and all of these things, and how all that comes into play. Software side of the house, how easy is it to use their software versus using, things like Lightburn, which is awesome. And going back and forth, those 4 companies never contacted me again. Basically I told them, I said, I'm going to do an honest review, and I'm going to tell people honestly what I think about this thing. And if you can't take that type of criticism or critique, then I don't know. It's up to you. The ball's in your court, basically. And I never heard from those companies again, because I figure, if you're going to if you're going to buy a product, then what you should be doing is let me see if I get back to that. And if you're going to be spending some money, you should probably be getting the best product that you can for your dollar. I hate getting into hobbies, and I think I've done it. I think everybody else has, to where they get into a hobby, they get the Barney Basic entry level, whatever it is, and then later they find out, oh yeah, maybe I should have gotten this. Or as you get in and you learn, it's like, well, I should have gotten this or this or this. And you end up buying so many iterations of that machine or hobby item that you spend a lot of money in the long run. Think of it like getting into firearms. I used to do competition shooting, and I was a concealed carry firearms instructor, military, all kinds of stuff, security, done all that stuff. And I've seen so many people buy entry-level guns like the high point or the low bottom of the barrel guns because, that's it. Oh, this is all I can afford. And it's like I really encourage people to get good quality products. I'm not saying that you have to get a $10,000 gun or a $5,000 or $2,000 gun, but there's a big difference between like buying a high point, a $200 or $300 high point versus maybe $400 or $500 for a Glock or a SIG or something like that. And the classes that I've run, I had a number of pistols that I would have from low end to high end, and we would have a time where people would get to shoot, a magazine worth of ammo through each one of those. And so many people that had got high points or the lower end of the spectrum when it comes to firearms ended up saying, hey, well, I like the SIG, I like the Glock. And it's like, well, you can get Glocks. You don't have to spend $600-700. You can get a law enforcement trade-in and spend, $300-400. And so many people that's how I got some of my lower end guns was, actually because of that. So in the same thing when we're talking about laser engraving, you should go for quality of product, and you probably get something a little bit more than what you think you need, because if you really get into it, you'll want more, at least in my experience. So yeah, you always want more. And so my whole thing is buy once, cry once. Get something good. Yeah, I could get something that is like a 5-watt laser system and be happy and do my little things. But then now I'm coming to a place of where it's like I'm doing slate tile engravings, and I want to do larger items. And people have asked me and said, hey, well, can you do a larger like a 9 by 16 tile because, you know, I kind of want a wine and cheese board thing on there. Well, I can't do that with this little rinky-dink thing. You know, so, you know, your priorities will change, the things that you want to do change, and that's why I kind of lean towards kind of like the Lasermatic, the Acmer, or ASMR, whatever they call it, because of the larger build area. And I think, you know, I'd never need anything that big, but it's amazing on how quickly I've gotten involved in laser engraving. And so now it's like, oh, I want to engrave this or that, or I want to cut out and I want to do, like I paint miniatures. And I have these little paint bottles and I want to make storage racks for these. Well, I'm going to need a bigger build area or cutting area to cut out and making racks or shelves and things like that. Yeah, it's suddenly all of these things come into play. So, yeah, just really, really interesting what we end up seeing here. Let's see, what are we seeing with our engraving? Because we're getting close to it. And that is coming out pretty good. That looks really nice from what we're seeing. And again, this is the baking soda treated wood at 40% versus the 60% power we were using before. So yeah, very interesting. But yeah, I mean, this little engraving area is, you know, 80 millimeters by 80 millimeters, which is like 3.14 inches square. It's not a big build area or engraving area, but you can still get some awesome results. And this little thing here, as far as, let me pull this up and I'll show you that. Wainlux K10. And let's see if we can find the, where is it? Let's take a look and I'll show you here. So this is the machine here that I have. They have a 3 watt, which is $189, basically $190. The 5 watt is basically $250. Honestly, there's a $40 coupon there that it ends up. You can compare it to a different store, low prices across different stores. I've got one of those apps that does that. To where it'll search out for cheaper items. And I actually have a link for this laser engraver in the description box, Amazon link, because I'm an affiliate, but don't use the affiliate link. And you may, why are you saying that? Because I found that you can get this exact same laser engraver cheaper on different sites. So why wouldn't you do that? You know, apply for a $40 coupon, low across 3 stores. So let's take a look at this. So you can save $81 here on Alibaba. You can save $31 on eBay. You know, so you can find some places where it is cheaper. Okay, yeah. If you use my affiliate link, I'd appreciate that. In the videos I've done, I haven't gotten anybody using my links yet. So it doesn't really bother me if you don't. But yeah, it turns out it's a pretty decent little system. It's rinky-dink. It's plastic. It's, you know, 10,000 hours of laser light. You got to maintain it and clean it. But it's a cheap little system, but it works, you know, and you can do some things on it. But just trying to, and I've got that there, and trying to center everything in there, yeah, it's, I still got to learn how to do that. But, you know, it works out for entry-level stuff. But my point is, when you start getting into this and you realize so much more is out there when we're talking about lasers, you know, you come to a point of where you're like, wow, I could be doing so much more. And in larger quantities or larger items that I can engrave or cut and so on and so forth. So let's see, where are we at here? And we're almost done. We're getting there. Let's take a look. Now it's a little out of focus because of the laser. See if we can manually focus this thing in a little bit. Yeah. But the laser light really kind of messes with the focus on this. So yeah, let's see what this looks like. This will be interesting to take a look at. So yeah, very kind of cool stuff. And we'll see the difference between the, and we are done. All right, let's go get it. And so you definitely see that it turned out a little bit better there. Not bad, huh? Not bad at all. Okay, let's take a look and see where we're at with this thing. So, as a little recap, this is what we had for a speed of 5,000 at 60% power on untreated wood. So you can see how that came out. And then we ended up doing some treated wood at 60% with the baking soda. And if this will focus. And we got a lot darker for that. Again, the exact same settings for speed and power, 60%. And with the treated wood with the baking soda. And then what we ended up just finishing up here, is this final result. And this ended up, we reduced the power down to 40%. So yeah, it ended up, that is pretty good, of using the baking soda and able to reduce the power and still get, I think we got some better results from this than when we had it at 60% and it ended up being just too dark. So you can definitely see there, way too dark. We lost, got some muddled, again, it's just way too dark. But here what we ended up getting is a lot better results. So, and we got that. I think the light I'm using is more of a warmer light, but that turned out really good. I'm liking that. Definitely better. Yeah, that's what it looks like. So, very interesting stuff in regards to the differences between the treated wood and the untreated wood. I'm going to throw both of these up here, with this one being the one we just did at 40% power, and this is the one of the untreated at, or yeah, this one is the 40%, this one is the 60% power, and we can see the difference between the treated and the untreated. So what do you think? It turned out pretty good. And especially at a lower power. Now we could adjust the picture and things like that to maybe clear up some things for this, even at 40%, because I could lighten it up a little bit. But that is definitely pretty good compared to the other one. This one here, which is kind of lighter and you're kind of losing some stuff. So again, a little bit of tweaking could be done. But if I had to choose between the two, I like that this one is a little bit darker, but I do like there's a little bit of whiter highlights on this. But with the treated wood, I think if we adjusted the picture a little bit and kind of got the changed the gamma and things like that, maybe the brightness and the contrast, we could get it up to the place of where we get a happy medium, and it would turn out really, really nice. But just for what we ended up doing there, I think that turned out really well. And again, let's see if this will focus. You know, we got some pretty good results on there for an engraving on wood. I mean, look at that, the little paint bottles and paintbrushes and miniatures and stuff like that, the little details down there. Tennis shoes, his laces. I mean, that turned out really, really good. So yeah, I'm digging the baking soda thing. Who knew? You know, whole new world of variables comes into play. So anyway, that's what we ended up talking about today. And so a little bit of a summary, basically ending up doing maintenance on your machine, because the quick little recap, I had done an engraving here, and that was 5,000 at, what was that? You can almost read it. That was 5,000 at 60%. And the reason it was so light was because the lens needed to be cleaned. And then as soon as I cleaned the lens, it came out darker like this. So we started getting our darkness back after we cleaned the lens. And then what we ended up doing is doing the treated baking soda, which makes it a lot darker. And again, that was at 60%. And then this last print that we just ended up doing, we dropped our power down to 40%. And focus. And we still, with that baking soda treated wood, we were able to get a really nice engraving there. So yeah, some pretty cool stuff. So that's going to be it. Thanks for watching. Give a like and subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate that. Buy me a coffee, link down in the description box if you want to do that. And we'll be doing more laser engraving stuff. And again, out into the future, since I'm retired in Korea and I have a lot of time, yeah, I'm going to be doing more laser stuff. And definitely looking at getting a different machine to be able to do some different things. But even with this little 5-watt system, I've been able to do some engraving, like on this Gerber knife. I did that little veteran thing there. I was able to do that little Celtic knot. And then I even tried doing a little bit of, let's see if this shows up, Damascus steel kind of stuff onto this blade. And that turned out kind of cool. I still need to do the other side. Maybe I'll do that. But yeah, just so many cool things that I found to do with lasers. And now I've got some people that are interested in my slate engravings. So I'm thinking about offering that, and, you know, I don't know, maybe $5, $6, $7 per coaster for 4-inch slate coasters, round or square. So I'm thinking about doing that. And then personalized, maybe add another $1 onto that. So family name or your name or some, you know, some individualized components for slate coasters. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, it's kind of fun. I'm enjoying it. So with that being said, I'm going to let you go because I got to finish my latte, which is getting probably pretty tepid. Still good, but yeah, it's a little tepid. And hopefully you guys and gals will end up having a good week. It is Monday here in Korea, which means in the United States it's probably still Sunday. So hopefully you have a good week, and we'll see you on the next video, okay? Peace. Good stuff. Good stuff.